Okay, we'll be doing a couple early morning podcasts for you. It is January 2nd, 2016. There are some major differences between what I talk about and the social justice warrior crowd. Now, you're not going to hear the social justice warrior crowd talk about the dead millions in the Middle East or the actual real racism taking place in some cases. You also see overreaction on the other side, people that don't want to hear other people's opinions. They now default to labeling them social justice warrior because they don't want to hear any criticism of what they're doing. So this is also a default way to insult someone that's bringing information to your attention. So what I do is I explain what my life is like, and a lot of people want to say, no, that's not what your life is like. You live in a mansion, you have family, women love you. And the reality is, no. I actually talk about what my life is like. Now, if you want to put that into a box, there's only a few of you that do that. Go ahead and do that. But I'm going to do a couple podcasts. The first one will elaborate on my survival in this time-space reality, also known as living off the grid in this particular part of Colorado, which is up on a hill. Now, a lot of people, just to preface, have never lived off grid. So let me just explain this to you. If certain areas were easy to drive up into, they'd be a lot more populated. So the reality of being able to find an area where there's not a lot of people, sometimes there's a catch to it. Yeah, but there's a lot of snow or it gets really cold. And so people that have been groomed to depend on civilization for their heat, for their water, for their septic, for their food, for their entertainment, for other things not yet mentioned, for their addictions. That's why for years I've talked about getting away from the pleasures of the flesh that are commonly found in the urban environments. And so I knew that I would be walking into a situation in which it would be possible that I would be stuck, in the sense that I wouldn't be able to get to town as often for supplies that I want and need. Now I'll talk about wants versus needs and how I'm able to differentiate between the two. First of all my needs are met. I don't have to go to town to upload these videos. I have my internet on site. I have my shed on site. It's small, it's not big enough for a family, it's big enough for me. A lot of you ask, well, why don't you get a wood stove installed? Well, I'm doing the minimalist thing, and even though it costs some money to rent propane, it's cheaper than what it costs in your community, almost guaranteed. I'm on average, it's about $40 a month in heating costs. Really, that low? Well, compared to some people in the city spending $300, I'm sure some of you know somebody or a family with a heat bill over $200 or $300 in the city. Where's their wood stove? Are you asking them where their wood stove is? Just try to be nice at all times and look at the positive. Look at the things that I've accomplished with so very little, and don't attempt to belittle it. You should support those verbally and in other ways when they accomplish the unaccomplishable. You should look into their history if they have a known history, which I do. And I survived the winter of 2012, 2013, part of it without firewood. The pain that the women in the audience love to dance around is the pain of the heart. Do you understand the pain of the heart? Or am I talking to a generation that's forgotten this? It's not the pain of the cold. It's the pain of the heart. And so I talk about the pain of the heart and recovering from the pain of the heart and the trauma of the heart, and doing so in nature. A lifetime of pain and judgment coming even from family. It's a story beyond what you typically hear from the average American or human, period. And it's a story worth sharing. And I will continue to share this ongoing story with those that want to hear it. And I will not be dissuaded by the number of thumb downs. In fact, that only motivates me to keep going, because to thumb down, they still have to watch. And in watching, they take the risk of evolving in some way, shape, or form by being introduced to new ideas and information, whether they intend to evolve or not as they thumb down. They continue to watch, they continue to listen, they continue to take notes, regardless. So I ignored those of you, and many of you have already left by now, that would say, go back to the grid, Alex. It's impossible to live off the grid. Living off the grid is illegal, and going back 3 years ago. So you can't get internet, blah, 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 and you're all alone. Aren't you a fucking dumbass? And see, they were doing that to be mean to a guy who was doing something that they were not brave enough as men to do themselves, or strong enough to walk away from their women, to walk away from the material things, to walk away from their apartment, to walk away from putting on a front for other women or other people, to simply be themselves. To simply be themselves. Wasn't persuaded when that man came over and said, where are your parents from? You look like one of those sand niggers. See, most white people, when they go off grid, you do not have experiences like that. And so people ask, why do you bring up this stuff? Because it's a part of my story and the challenges that I have had to overcome. And it's clear that this concept of having to go through these things is incredibly alien. Like something out of, the movie Alien. The alien popping out of the stomach. Like, alien. Ah! It's like a completely foreign alien concept to a lot of these people, what that's like. So it almost sounds like mental illness to them. They're not able to actually understand that these are true stories of life in America today, even in areas where some of us were born into. So I am concerned, but I'm going to override it, and I'm going to end up with new friends as a result. At the same time, while many of you stop listening, new people will start listening, and in the future, I may actually develop real solid friendships. The point where when I start traveling this country, I actually meet up with some of you for coffee. Because it's clear to me now that by speaking openly from the heart, I'm attracting a certain type of, I'm seeing it in there, I can feel it I can feel the strong hatred at me or at my soul for some reason when I'm making videos like this. And then I see a few comments come in going, we know exactly what you're talking about. It's not a lot. And I'm noticing it's a lot of new comments. Well, where are the people that were commenting a month ago? They're gone. Where are the people that were commenting 6 months ago? They're gone. So it's like there isn't like a consistent audience base. Like I said, it's a very diverse audience. Some of you are very kind and patient that are like on the path, or you come across as being on the path. But you'll, in some cases, judge me when I put out news when it's not all spiritual all the time. And, and then you'll say, I thought you were like me and only thought this way and closed your mind off from news and information. Ah! I've been raped. My mind's been raped. Because what? You saw my latest headlines on my YouTube news feed, even though you didn't even click on it? Oh, your eyes are burning now. Your eyes are burning now. Just a little bit of a joke for those aspects of the audience that can't handle various aspects of the execution, the delivery, the spoken word of truth, be it a podcast, be it news, or be it a video with me ranting. This channel has all of the above, and it's going to keep going. So a combination of what I talk about being seen as mentally ill by those people that are very judgmental to, in particular, Gnostic thought. There's going to be a future video about the ongoing Gnostic persecution. We may not be hung by our skin like the Native Americans or treated the way the Gnostics were, but we are certainly judged and scorned, even by other Gnostics that want to act like they're political and want to hump the Trump. There's a couple of them are like, well, we hump the Trump and we're Gnostics. We're offended by you, Alex. Well, yeah, I'm sure you're a real Gnostic. You're really looking at the demiurge of this world. Yeah, you're really a Gnostic focused on more the spirit, not the material. Oh, no. So there's a bunch of counterfeit Gnostics that think the Archons are all about making a more brown world, or people like me, or that I'm Archon. And so it's important that you understand that as I do dabble in certain topics that could be considered spiritual, there are members of the audience that come in this room, if you will, to describe it as a room. I'll often do that. I'll describe it as a room in a classroom with disruptors that sometimes need to get up and get the fuck out if they're not going to listen to the lesson. Or if they're going to say, well, if you were somebody, you'd have a bunch of money and you'd have women around you and you'd have support and you wouldn't be begging and blah 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 and block. Come here no more. demon child. Let me just fix this for a minute. I got excited here in my microphone that isn't mounted down. My microphone that isn't mounted down decided to get a little bit jumpy. Let me just make this very, very clear. I knew when I came up here that there were wants and needs. Needs, got to have enough heat, got to have enough food, got to have enough water, got to have enough power, got to have enough gasoline to run the generator when I'm not getting enough power from the sun. Got to have large enough solar panels. So all that stuff is set, and I technically don't even have to go to town for another month. Now, is that my idea of a party? To have nothing but quinoa and still cut oats and some peanut butter and maybe a few eggs. Now those are all gone. But you'll notice in a past video I put, I have a little bit of powdered eggs. And you may be disgusted by that. I've never tried them. I'm not afraid to try new things and go, okay, that was crap. I'll never buy that again. But to have a fear of trying something for the first time just because it's powdered. You know, somebody was commenting that oh, your powdered eggs made me cringe. And then I actually met this woman in the next town over whose genetics were from a foreign country, hoping that by her being genetically different that she would be more open and kind. And in fact, she was essentially the same prototype personality of that which I met in Portland. Very critical, like a tone. Like a tone! The way you talk to someone, you know? And I even realized that the tone is like laced with criticism. And like putting down, like you have an agenda for contacting me, don't you? And I won't talk about what I woke up to with regards to her agenda. She misprofiled me as a man that might have been able to help her out in reality. Or may have wanted to at some point if I were to just stay with her over in civilization, the next town over. And yeah, that lasted about 24 hours. There's a lot of people out there that have come in my direction with perceived kindness. Oh, we want to help. We care about you. We care about you. Are you cold up there in the hill? Well, yes. Well, good luck with that. I'm not really cold. I would really just like to get off the hill once a month. Maybe go for a walk in the park. But see, while you think that that's something that'll break someone, I'm telling you with full truth, I'm not fucking with you. I have no reason to gain from fucking with you. I swear to God, ladies and gentlemen, it is making me stronger. I was right last year when I said in that video, you know, hey, even if you just take some time off work and you go to your own cave, your man cave, your woman cave, and you have your basic food, water, fuel, and other things, with or without technology, maybe you have a lot of books, maybe write a book, man, it's going to feel very therapeutic. Maybe you smoke weed, maybe go off weed for a week, you know, and go through those detox symptoms, which are absolutely real. You know, and I did things like that as well as going off meat. I really don't have anything beyond quinoa, still cut oats. There's only a few packages of ramen noodles left. And people are so judgmental of me. Not only the things that I do, but the fact that I don't ever eat up to their standards. Or the fact that once in a while I may eat a ramen package, even though I know that it's not great for you. I think that there are too many people, too many of you, especially those that are self-proclaimed health nuts, that care more about this whole what you put in your mouth than what comes out of your mouth. And it's like I was reading that Gnostic scripture recently on this channel, and it's like, wow, if only people, I need to come back to the Gospel of St. Thomas, also known as the Real Teachings of Jesus. There are people that are more focused on materialism than spirit. Like there are more women that are more into not eating GMO than actually saying one sentence or a word about the millions dead in the Middle East. And they fail to see how that is a sickness. And I'm even talking about Middle Eastern women as well. See, I'm not at all going to let the angry white woman attitude of defensiveness shut down the message of this channel, or the angry white man. There are enough of you that would be described as white or Caucasian that are not acting like them. And there's enough of you putting out positivity in some way, shape, or form to say to me, Alex, we hear what you're saying, keep going. Because I'm trying to help you evolve. And there are people that are like really defensive when I talk about what it's like when I made my video. Most of you got it. When I made my video, why I live off grid for my own safety. She's like, well, when you say you're this and you're that, I'm tired of being blamed for the world's problems for being a white woman. It's like, well, that has nothing to do with me. Your defensiveness, you feeling blamed by other people has nothing to do with me. I'm telling a real story. I don't even know you. grandma mama, you know, the fake name with no image. I don't even know you. I don't know any of you. And you don't know me. Especially if you're a brand new viewer and you're like, I can't believe this guy is like sharing from the heart. I'm like so offended. This is a social justice warrior. Social justice warrior. It's like when I first heard that term like a year ago, because I never heard it before last year. It's like all these different types of imagery. Social justice warrior. But are there not social justice warriors on the Trump side? Are there not Trump supporters pissed off that there's a restaurant that will not put up a portrait of Trump, but they'll draw a portrait of the past presidents? There is social justice warrior psychology on the Trump side. If you don't like Trump, you like Clinton. That's a form of social justice warrior philosophy in their mind. It's not based on race, it's based on politics and a blind accusation. Oh, that's a Clinton supporter. That's racist. That's a Clinton supporter. No, I'm not a Clinton supporter. I'm not a libtard. I don't know George Soros, but I am warning you about a coming third world war. I am warning you about the danger inside cities when the solar flares take out the grid. I am encouraging you to get beyond your whole faith in this dollar and faith in the system and think about off-grid living. What, you want to hate me for that? So in the end, I know that I'm isolated because of what I am. It's body, mind, and spirit. It's the spirit inside me. It's the mind that I have, the content on this channel. It's the websites, even Off-Grid Co. I made a website that was just off-grid, so I wouldn't be rejected by off-gridders, so I would have a website that was just off-grid. Hasn't done anything to impress off-gridders or show them that I care about off-gridders, because they themselves don't care about other off-gridders. As far as I'm concerned, they only care about themselves, or in certain areas where it's nearly all white off-gridders. They are uncomfortable with someone that doesn't look like them amongst them because there is fear of Middle Easterns at this time. Someone actually even messaged me saying, Alex, I did hear what you said, you know, and this explained why you can't rationalize with Trump supporters. And he's like, and I understand you're Middle Eastern. You need to understand, though, there's good reason to be afraid of them. And he thinks he's rationalizing with me. So there's good reason to be afraid of me, in other words. This is what he's saying. His name, by the way, was William Reichardt, with a Reich with a crest. And I'm also having more people troll me with Russian names, believe it or not, or weird crests. And I probably should be taking more. It almost looks like the Russian crest. I know that some of you are taught that this is crazy, that there are no Russian trolls. You've gotten into this propaganda war to such a degree to where you think everything is a lie, and you don't realize that there actually is an international info war taking place. And at the top levels, they're working for the same people, which is a level of understanding at the top of the pyramid that a lot of you don't want to go, but only a few will. But we're being set against each other, basically, in other words. And that which you call trolls is really a larger operation, apparently, to keep us all fighting, keep us all defensive, keep the slander going. In some cases, maybe it's a bot program, but I get some of the weirdest comments on this channel when I share from the heart. At the same time, sharing from the heart is really what my core audience wants, not news. There's only a very small percentage of you that really wants news all the time. I look at the videos that are doing well. It's videos where I'm talking from the heart, which is why I mix it up, because talking from the heart doesn't pay the bills by itself. Talking from the heart doesn't pay the bills by itself, but it helps better than just covering news. So I have to be fluid. And so the difficulty in that, as I've said, is people judge you. They're like, Alex, I thought you were all spiritual all the time. Why are you talking about China? You're into different topics. Oh, I don't know how to handle this. I thought you were right. I thought you were like me. I mean, like, just like me. Like, eat the same food and everything. I'm gonna have to unsub. I don't know what you're talking about with people judging you. I'm gonna judge you now. I'll show you judgment, Alex Ansary. I'll show you judgment and find show me judgment. Don't let the door fucking hit your ass on the way out, whore. I mean, fuck off. So the issue is, I'm up here on a hill, and I actually helped someone find his land and see him become a closer friend with his white counterpart. And they like literally are like from the same part of Europe. And that's fine. But when I see that they become closer friends and they are with me, I realize that it's a biological imperative. And so for white denial to say, no, 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 that doesn't happen to some of us. No, 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 that form of tribalism does happen to some of you. If they have something in common, like they both like to drink whiskey, and I'm considered the guy that doesn't drink the whiskey because I'm the weird half Middle Eastern guy who's into Gnostic thought and other stuff, which none of them are into. So it's like, unless Alex is a drinking buddy and always smoking cigarettes because they've come over, hey, Alex, can I get a cigarette? I mean, Ryan would ask, oh, you don't have a cigarette? Or he'd act really excited if I did. But if I don't have cigarettes and I'm not up for drinking alcohol, which I never am, I'll smoke a little green once in a while, but that's it. I'm considered a pretty boring dude. Into really weird stuff. To the people that I thought were my friends, or were going to be my friends this winter. It looks like a friend's going to be visiting me from out of state, which this person did, which she did before, in the past, before I got the shed. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to getting to town next week and getting some meat, getting some other things that'll get me through the next month, and I'm looking forward to, before I know it, the snow's going to be melted. Even if the money doesn't come in, I want to thank the last person that donated $20 in the last 24 hours. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I was also mentioning that I felt that there were more Russian trolls, and I would say that there are international supporters, whether it be Norway or Eastern Europe or England. In some cases, there's almost more support coming from outside the United States than coming from Americans. I also want to share that. I think if we were to look at all those that have donated in the history of the totality, that foreigners, and not Middle Easterns, we're talking about white foreigners in Europe that seem to understand the things that I'm talking about more than white Americans in America. A lot of people also said, Alex, you really should travel the world. And I say that I have, made mistakes when I was 19, when I, made some mistakes, went to jail briefly for something stupid, possession, and then I was in that period of investigating myself. There were a couple hard years there after I got out of my dad's house and away from his hands around my throat. Hurt myself for about a year or two, and then found alternative media, and 9/11 happened, and the rest is history. But that was enough to charge me with something, and so I don't know that I would actually be allowed out of the country with those types of laws, because if you don't know, there are those types of laws about not leaving the U.S. if you've ever been in trouble before. And I think that they increased this after 9/11. So that's actually my response to those that have asked me about international travel. I find it to be a silly question unless you know someone that might be able to. But see, the point of this is about life on the top of the hill, not about international travel. And so a lot of you are in a very stark denial about what reality is like for me. And the truth is, I can post in one group, I got $30 cash for a round trip ride to town. And it's like, are they clicking on my profile, seeing my last name, and then going, that's a foreign name, or looking at my skin going, that guy is far browner or tanner than the rest of us. He's either a Middle Eastern or a Saudi or an Hispanic. What is he doing in our predominantly 100% white off-grid community? And it is. There are very few to no people of any form of color. And I feel that there are certain people here, like that if I was to walk down the road, the first thing they'd be thinking is, what is someone of color doing on our hill? And that is how I feel in the area in which I reside. Is it still safer for me than a left liberal Portland? As I explained, they were very judgmental as well. And we're talking about before the so-called Islamic invasion. We're talking about just in general in society. Things were better, though, before 2013 and 2014, but they weren't great. But like I said, there was some dating going on back and forth. And I think that also the information I talk about, especially when it went from just New World Order and just conspiracy to more MGTOW, spiritual commentary, relationships, that's the kind of stuff that alienates a lot of people and makes a lot of women angry and puts them in this mentality of, well, that man should be punished. He should be one of those men that stands alone and dies alone because he has not conformed to our social norms. He's a bad man. Bad man. Bad man. And so when one particular woman, by the way, who doesn't live in this area, contacted me and said that source told her to contact me, that I was the one. And it was a little creepy. It was like, she got the love bite, basically. And this other dude that I helped find his land already bragged about sleeping with her, even though she was seeing somebody else. So she was already described to be very horny and very loose. And then now adding me on Facebook and coming at me with a very new age Sanders type of a thing, but not a real like, but Alex, I really am bothered by the millions dead in your father's home country. That's like kind of fucked up. I totally do see your warnings and the karmic consequences. Never heard words like that really from any woman, period. Even when the women comment in the comment section, Alex, I understand they're very short. They're no longer than one sentence, and they do not indicate depth of understanding. How do you understand what I'm saying? How? Can you say it more than a sentence? You can't? Then you don't understand. And if anything, you're one of the few, if you're still listening, who's not offended, all 5 of you. But are you able to take note that the entire nation of the female population is offended by such teachings and concepts? Because if you're in denial of that, I don't want to talk to you. I'm 36 years old. I did not start this podcast last year. Honey, ma'am, whatever you want to be called. I got involved in 2004. That's 12 years. Don't tell me that it's my vibration that makes me unattractive. Okay, that's bullshit. I've done a lot to defend the sacred masculine and feminine. And I've shown many sides of myself to be in a calm state of consciousness. Let me turn off this. Because I live off grid and I have an APC 1500, which I bought on eBay, battery pack. And that allows me to not run the generator if I have that charged up. And so I can get about an hour and a half of either computer charging or internet usage. So I understand there are some good women that are listening, but if you're comparing yourself with the masses of others, I've explained this many times, you're making a mistake and you're not evolving as a woman, as a soul. If you are even open to the concepts that I am discussing, you are unique and you're not like the rest. Does it mean that you're enlightened? Does it mean that I'm enlightened? It means that you're open to certain ideas. Does it mean that you also don't have your cruelty? As a certain percentage of the female audience that has gotten close, they'll eventually start attacking and they'll go on the offensive. And say, I really like this video. I really don't like this video. And it becomes like a bipolar thing. It's like, leave that shit in the fucking, leave that shit in your household. Don't bring it to this channel. So a lot of you have the common sense to just not say anything instead of say something insulting. Because you know me enough that I will block you for attacking my content and saying that I don't have a right to express my experience. But the truth is, because of my racial background, even though I identify more with the soul, I will always be seen as one of them. And crazy because of my ideas. So it's one or the other, or it could be the ideas and not race, or the race and not ideas. And so when I blocked that woman for those messages, and I also blocked the guy for being kind of rude to me when I got a ride from him, and I was saying that, yeah, I do kind of avoid town because of the way people look at me, and the way he said, what, because you think they think you're a terrorist? And the way that he said that, and the way that he responded when I called NPR propaganda, and that I saw Sanders as being a part of the same thing, it's like his top blew, and I became his enemy in his mind. Even though he was a YouTube viewer to a point, wanted to come up here, get his land, and that's all he wanted. He, in fact, never saw any other videos. He only saw a few off-grid videos and saw me as a guy that would help this. And this isn't a slur. This is an actual description of what it is. Step back from your identifying with white and actually be able to step back and see the situation for what it is. A white guy talks to this mixed race guy in Colorado because he wants to get out of California with what money he's built up from his work and his daddy. But yet he's not interested in friendship. He's interested in using a guy to get his lot or property because he knows I'm not making a big noise about this particular area because it's that great. So I go, okay, he seems like a viewer, like one of you. He seems like, you know, he was messaging like he was a person that appreciates my information. And then when I met him and he got up here, I saw the real him. So I blocked both him and her, and when I did that, after introducing him to my other friend, the same one that I said, hey dude, are you, when I'm snowed in, because we all know I'm going to be snowed in, I just need to be able to get to town once a month. Can you do that? Oh, no problem, once a month. You know, I just can't do it every week. It's been like 3 months since I've seen him. We're still Facebook friends. He still lives a 5-minute walk away. He still drives to town every single day. We ourselves have never been in a argument, you see, but I cut the other guy out of my life who became his new drinking buddy. And the way things work in an off-grid tribal structure, especially when we're dealing with whites and say one minority, biology takes over. It's their club, it's their family, it's their hut. And then the weirdo Afghani conspiracy dude who believes in archons and solar flares in World War III over there. And so when I post on the local group on Facebook, hey, I got $30 cash for a ride to town, folks, we're talking about 25 miles round trip, meaning a good mileage vehicle only has to pay $6. Repeat, a good mileage vehicle only has to pay $6. Why would someone not take $30 from me when I've posted now 10 times in multiple groups for this ride? By the way, one person who may have been a Costilla County hater, we don't know, I don't know, but someone did ask me for my address saying they were on the way up, and they just did it to get my address. So when having to turn to strangers, I found myself hurt. I found myself, well, I don't have a mirror to look into, you know, but I certainly feel like there's no doubt. You can just look at my Facebook pic, and you can click on my Facebook and then go to my website and go, oh, what, you've never been to alexansary.tv? Do you really think the titles at alexansary.tv are titles that the average Trump supporter would be down with? I live in Trump County. And there are, of course, those that are, I've never seen love or support from anyone that's admitted Hillary Clinton, only actual Trump supporters that for some reason don't realize that their politics are offensive to me, but they've acted like they're my friends. The same hasn't happened with Sanders or Clinton people. They have never pretended to be my friends because they've never been my friends. They've never been my employers. They've never been my associates. They've all been on the Trump side. So I have tolerance for some people if they have tolerance for me, and if there's like a working relationship or friendship between us. But as far as like random people or whatever, we're so divided now nationwide that they don't want to have anything to do with anyone that's not of their particular biology or politics in many cases. Hispanic is different. And black is different because those are like becoming dominant groups, minority groups, and they're not whole-scale demonized as terrorists. There are blacks on TV, there are Hispanics on TV. Yes, there are some Middle Easterns on TV that are pushing the bottom line White House narrative. It'll be interesting to see how things go with CNN after Trump. But it's all just there to keep us angry at each other. And a lot of people don't really respect the individual non-Republican, non-Democrat voter. And no one really cares about the Middle Eastern young man who was denounced by the Muslims for not being a Muslim. They're not even interested in my story. They're not even interested in my story. But they will make assumptions to keep themselves and their daughters safe. And in doing so, they hurt me. And I talk about on this channel, and someone telling their story about being judged by others is not the same thing as being a social justice warrior. It's sharing with you my story and how much this hurts. How much this hurts me right now, and how I feel that the hurt at times takes me away from my work. But yet, if the hurt and pain is going to be part of my story, then it's going to be part of the reporting, because I am reporting on also my life in this matrix. I'm not just reporting news. I'm sharing with you my trials and tribulations. The hardest thing about going off grid is being judged for being a non-white in a 100% off grid community. I reached my hand out to one person of African descent, and then it became very clear that he was a Trump supporter and was very judgmental to non-Trump supporters. And so perhaps when he offered to, since we're on Facebook together, he said last week he would come by and help me get some propane. Never did. Never did. Did he see a video? See, what usually happens is on Facebook, I post my YouTube videos. They see what I'm talking about. And the things that I'm talking about that are public, they go, we don't want to know that man. So those of you that say you support me, you are like literally spread out across the planet, or you're in foreign countries. You're anywhere but here. You're anywhere but here. It's very sad, one could say, that I had to move out to the middle of nowhere just so I can live somewhere, and it's not really the middle of nowhere, but it might be to you. But it's not really the middle of nowhere where town's 15 miles away, as I explained many, many times, which is a third of the journey, say from Costilla County to the Alamosa Walmart. Here, the journey is cut by a third. So the gas savings are incredible. That's why this is actually a very wonderful place to be, especially in the spring and the summer when things are blooming and you get all that rain. Oh my God, it's like a little slice of paradise. That's why the land, folks, isn't cheap. That's why I believe it was a miracle that the owner financing deal, and I'm paying $250 for 4 years. $250. Oh, you're gonna say that's expensive? What are you paying a year for something you'll never own? $20,000 plus, $15,000 and upward. In some cases, more than $30,000. You're gonna laugh at me for that amount to pay something off in 1 year? That is, if I were to bring in 15 grand in 1 year. I'm not. Where am I at? I'm more like 5 grand a year. 5 grand, maybe 8 grand. I'm in that category. That is lower than average. That is not enough to live off of in the city. So you telling me that I'm a failure is unwarranted and is insulting, because it takes years of work, especially when you're on your own and you have no family, to even be able to get up to a certain point. It almost takes a miracle for you to even get into a deal where you can pay off your land, even if you're paying a premium by a few thousand. I'd rather do that than that thousands going to the oil companies moving my RV around. So it's a stepping stone, as it was a stepping stone to go from the RV to the shed. And so if I'm going to be a real unique person, and if I'm going to be doing my videos out of my shed, people are going to be hearing me. Neighbors are going to be hearing me once in a while. You'll be like, that guy is a freak. He's talking to himself, or he thinks other people want to hear him. That's crazy too. Who would want to hear him? Have you seen him? Have you seen his appearance? Did you realize he's part Middle Eastern? Who would want to listen to him? Who would want to listen to him? And this is literally how people judge me. This is literally how people think. One guy, he was kind of like a lonely guy that acted like he wanted to be friends. He's like, dude, I just saw your Facebook post and I just want to make sure you're okay. Like, these are people that are allowed to add me on Facebook that never even knew me. So they're just like regular mainstream Trump supporting folks. Like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, seriously, dude, I am okay. Here's actually an article showing that I am a philosophical person. And I'm letting the audience know this now so you can also read it. And it's called, It's Through the Pain That We Can Find the Way Home. And it was a blog I wrote in 2009. And it's posted at my website, alexansary.tv. I sent that to him to kind of show that I'm a philosophical thinker. Never got back to me again. Out of curiosity, by the way, I did check out Plenty of Fish, and woof, woof. And for the people that look somewhat attractive, boy, do they have like a very empty, narrow, girls just wanna have fun. There's no depth, or even pretending to have depth. And it's also been said that a lot of the women, once they get out of high school, they get out of here. So you have the really, really young and the really, really elderly that come here to retire from other states, that buy the wealthy property. They're rich, in other words. So this ain't Costilla County. No, I'm not telling you where I live. Stop asking. I mean, respect. Where do you live? No, what address? No, literally, and what part of the room do you live in? Moving on. So in the end, I discovered that these people are not my friends. They fear me. And I'm right now, I'm surviving isolation before the bombs drop. And I think in the end, it isn't going to be a real Islamic invasion. It's a Chinese-Russian invasion. I have information for these people. They can learn from me. And I believe it's going to be one of the safest places to be when these things take place, to either fortify a compound structure, defend it. You know, there are various hills and roads going in different directions. If you can survive the current reality of the county and state regulations, it's really then going to come down to defending your property against neighbors that want to loot and other outside threats that may choose to make their way up the hill. But that's a major expense in gasoline to make your way up certain hills, you know, and you got to expend more gasoline to go uphill where it's rough. In certain areas, again, they're off grid and away from a lot of people because they're harder to drive up and get up into. You see, a lot of people are looking for a free lunch in the grid. They're like, wow, I want it. They don't really understand the concept of a lot of land's already been populated. If you want to go off grid and get away from it all, it's usually really cold or really snowy or on a hill or something. You got to understand that you're not living in 1970 anymore. And some of you have never experienced off-grid living at all. So it's just like some well, what is that? It's like where the grid, well, how can you be on the grid if you're on the internet? So you almost deal with baby talk. You're almost contending with baby talk, which is not to be argued with. When people are talking to you with baby talk, they're of such a low level of intelligence that they cannot be reasoned with. So do not try to reason with someone. who says something like, well, why are you on the internet? Well, I have satellite internet that is pointed literally at a satellite in the sky. Does that answer your question? Audit? Oh, yeah, literally. It's off-grid technology. Off-grid technology, that's an oxymoron. You're not off-grid. And it just continues. I knew what I was up for when I came up to this hill. And I knew that despite my issues meeting someone decent in Portland, I knew it would be compounded more and more. I did have hopes that it would be better in other parts of America, and perhaps in some ways, once you meet someone or there's trust, or maybe you're part of the same church, maybe in some ways it is. Maybe I've just been idealistic. Seems like everywhere the cell phones are and everywhere that type of thing is built into the modern female reality, their brain has changed. Their wiring has changed. And that cell phone becomes, that Facebook becomes like a way for them to use men or climb the ladder in some cases. Marry up or trade up. Speeding up the meeting potential. So we have all these websites, an adult friend finder and Craigslist and plenty of fish. Makes it easier for them to go from cock to cock to cock to cock. As for myself, who's not really into that type of mixing, the energies that go with that, there's a lot of reasons why I've chosen to go off grid and be somewhere where I'm not seeing hot bodies walking around advertising something they're not selling. Just because that's what we're taught to do in this modern Babylon. Not cool with that. Homie, don't play that. I knew that this was possible. That I would end up in a situation that by not talking to a few people, that it would close other doors and they would do like a group punishment. So like, the white man tribal punishment. We're going to banish you from the tribe because you're different. The same way the white liberals did to me by not worshiping Obama. We're going to banish you from our tribe. You're not going to be invited to any parties. We're not interested in what you have to say. If you are suspicious of Obama, there's something wrong with you, Alex Ansary. In fact, by the way, I was just banned from the Portland Reddit page for like the third time for posting my videos about Portland in the Portland Reddit page. Whoever moderates that page really hates me, as well as who ran Occupy Portland. And so, just for the record, I've been banned from several Portland pages. So I have experience with white tribal groups, which are the dominant groups and not the minority in any of the places where I've lived, banishing me from their tribe from the left and the right for being racially and politically and spiritually, mind, body, and spirit, different from them. For being different from them. And there is no tribe for me to retreat into. There's not Muzzies, as you might call them, or Muslims, or Middle Eastern people. You assume this, or maybe you don't assume this and you just don't care. But there isn't like a tribe of my own. And it's based on ideas. There are people that believe similar to me, but because I am of a genetic makeup than you, I will always be different than you, and I will never be a friend to you in many of your minds. Or someone worth supporting. Only a very few of you are that human that you would see this work worth supporting in some way. Like only to several per week despite 10,000 subscribers. I'm just some crazy, angry Arab that for some reason you keep listening to with anger instead of actually with empathy, understanding what it's like to speak to people about issues from a hill to where your neighbors don't want to know you because of things that were said about your content just like before, and because you're racist. Same thing in Costilla County. And yet I keep seeing these racist white supremacists attacking the Hispanics in Costilla County saying, well, they all need to go back to your racial supremacy is why I was alienated from that community there to begin with, from both the Hispanics and the whites. As far as I'm concerned, Costilla County is a racist place of whites and Hispanics. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope so. Why would anyone want to be in a racist county full of racist whites and racist Hispanics? I wouldn't. And have I denounced in past videos for the lower level intelligent members of the audience, Middle Eastern people and Muslims that have demonized me for the things that I speak of, my 9/11 truth reporting, when some of them are actually serving the U.S. military, like certain family members. And because of my non-Muslim status, I've been banished from them. Like I said, the only people that have actually been my friends have been a very small, select group of white people that have chosen to treat me with kindness. and have for whatever reason been able to show me empathy. How many people do you think I know, like Kyle Reardon? You've heard me and this dude talk back and forth. How many other people do you think that I have that are friends that I talk to on Skype? And I'm not interested in being your Skype buddy. I'm interested in other people doing podcasts with me. I'm not interested in Skype buddies from the get-go until I get to know you first. Kind of like sex. Skype's a very intimate thing on an energy level, in case you didn't know. And so for those of us that are super high sensitive individuals with very sensitive chakras, just randomly talking on the internet and chat rooms and in text messages, we actually shy away from things like that. We don't want to have these random connections energy-wise with potential people that are trying to sabotage us or people that will turn on us. And like I said, there's a certain percentage of split personality audience members that act nice one day and then send insults the next day. Just like that one guy, whatever was his name, who said he was a Gnostic one night and then attacking me the next day for my Donald Trump video. Yes, that's incredibly something that I would associate with Gnostic thinking, is someone attacking someone for their Gnostic interpretation of the demiurge consciousness behind Donald Trump. Oh, you're going to attack me for that? Because I'm looking at this world of Gnosticism with my own understanding and perspective. Okay, good on you. Good on you, sir. Goodbye now. Goodbye now. So I'm going to wrap up my thoughts. What I have developed is greater strength. I'm developing the greater strength to talk about things on my channel that have been buried within me for years. And I'm releasing that, and I literally have no fear or concern about what you're going to say to me. I understand some of you are absolutely enraged, but I'm actually trying to push a lot of you out of my channel and get you to subscribe and fuck off that are of this mentality. And I'm opening up my arms and I'm giving a big giant hug to those of you that are actually compassionate, understanding, and are actually encouraging me to make more content. I want to hear more of you encouraging me to press forward with more content, more news, more podcasts, more videos, and give me recommendations on other, as far down as a specific title. With regards to MGTOW, give me a specific suggestion on how deep you really want me to go down the rabbit hole, because I'm really just dancing around the bush. How deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole? Do we need to bring the Archons back into this? Do we need to open up the Nagamati again? Do we need to add in some other text or bring in some website articles that are discussing this? Is there, excuse me, is there an article that you want me to cover regarding men's rights, relationships, protecting your assets? Are any of you following geopolitics that are following the rise of China that listen to this program? I'm not seeing a lot of signs that there are. I'd like there to be more. And for those of you that also see the writing on the wall with regards to what's being staged, I'll tell you what, I think 2017 is going to be a big year of content creation. There's a lot of things I got to document. There's a lot of things from the past that have come out regarding missile technology transfers and other things. We should go over it all. I'm hoping to, in the future, developing actual real-life friendships with some people that will assist me in making an encyclopedia, if you will, or a book, or a documentary, or something spectacular that will literally reach the whole world. But I can only do so much myself. But in order for me to trust certain people, hey, you need to be consistent. You need to be consistent. You don't just, hey, Alex, I want to blah, 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 blah. No, the only people I'm going to have any dealings with are going to be consistent. They're not going to come across as shallow and selfish in their contacts with me. They're actually going to take to heart the things that I've talked about in these podcasts. Otherwise, the risk of getting involved with you is far too great. Or coming to visit you. There are too many people with split personalities. And there have been too many people that have tried to sabotage my own work. And unfortunately, I feel like I've almost been protected from a lot of harmful elements. And so you shouldn't be in denial that all the people listening to this channel and this video are of positive intention. You would be wrong. You would be very wrong to assume that the other people listening to this channel come with good intentions. They come with hate in their hearts. And they come with focused anger, and it's called psychic attack. Shut down the message. Bully the man. Call him Arab. Call him this. Say we don't want to hear this nonsense. Say we think he's like the leftists. Just hurt him like the others hurt him, and maybe he'll just kill himself. And maybe he'll just kill himself. And maybe one day somehow, some way, the man will just shut up and kill himself, either slowly or quickly. And I'm not going to let that happen. So when they choose to punish me down the street by not offering me a ride because I stopped talking to a particular person whose land I helped him find, what they are choosing to do is punish me for my bold stance. They're not going to punish me. They are no longer my friends. I have no friends in this physical reality. And the locals don't trust a face that they don't identify to be a part of their own tribe. That's not a social justice warrior. That's my testimony. But in the end, when I'm able to stay on my own property for months on end with the basics, I'm training myself for a darker day and age in our country's future. And that makes me a major step ahead of the curve. They would say back in the day, Alex, you're going to, through this home free experience, learn more about certain things than others. And that's true. But once you actually are able to settle down for a few months or a few years, you're able to take it to the next level and say, grow some food and develop some off-grid skills. And once I can find someone that I can trust, I can't wait to have a guest on my property to help me evolve things to the next level. Unfortunately, there's not a single candidate in my life that's shown me that we would actually really get along or that they've been consistent friends. I'm very suspicious of people just simply trying to use me, pretend they're my friends, and then flip out on me once they're actually on the property and declare they're never leaving. So there are great risks in being me. I think it's a lot easier for a couple that's just not on YouTube and not into any of this Gnostic stuff to just be regular folks. But because it's me and there are people that would want to shut down my message, there's going to be some physical and metaphoric walls. And I will throw a rope to a few of you that want to climb over that wall, but it's not going to be easy for you. You're going to have to show me that you actually are a friend. Right now, the two people that I'm thinking about that I would love to have on this property, somebody like Kyle Reardon, someone like my friend John down in Texas, who I physically have known for 4 years. The dude's in great physical shape. I mean, we literally could build a wall. I'm all about wall building, folks, but on my own property. To keep out locals. We ain't talking about Mexicans here. We ain't talking about the yalla yalla, but people locally that one day may want to take what I've got if they take me for they misconfuse, as they often do, my kindness for weakness. That's all for now. Alex Ansary here, signing off on this day after New Year's Day podcast, living up on the hill and surviving isolation and becoming stronger as a result and knowing who my friends are not.